Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name's Susie Hullock. I'm Head of Indigenous Banking at Westpac, and I would like to today acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we all meet here. I'm in beautiful Larrakia country in the Northern Territory here in Darwin, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to acknowledge all of you and anyone who identifies as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander on the webinar today, and welcome you all. It's so great to be here today. I'm so excited to be part of this Westpac Ruby and PepTalkHer monthly webinar series. I never lose the energy to drive to support the growth and empowerment of women, and in my role specifically, Indigenous women in business. So I'm super excited to be here. For some of you who are new, Ruby Connections is Westpac's online community for women, the first of its kind to be set up by an Australian bank, which we're very proud of. It's a central platform where like-minded women come together and forge really lovely connections, become more financially confident and empowered about what they can achieve for their future. Whether you're starting their financial journey, part of an established family, actively investing, or winding down to retirement, Ruby is an empowering place. So I encourage you all to reach out. We're particularly excited about today's session. I certainly am, with Leandra, Alicia and Narelda. And I know there'll be, many takeaways for you all and for me as well. And we continue to share amongst our networks, friends and women alike, to help us all strive for gender equality and boosting the financial confidence of all women. Thank you so much for having me, and enjoy the webinar and the series and the conversation. And I'm going to hand over to Narelda now. Welcome, everyone.
Susie, thank you so much. What a fantastic introduction. Thank you so much to Ruby. What a wonderful way of connecting women around the country. And it's just my absolute pleasure to be with you this morning. And I also pay my respects to the Gadigal traditional owners on which the land I am meeting today in the Eora Nation, and just I ask you to spare a thought for your traditional owners wherever you are around the country, and just to pay your respects, and we do that, Susie, to get the blessing of the event that we're having, so that we can leave enriched, as you say, and have learnt something wonderful about the women that we're going to hear from. So let's get stuck into it, shall we? I'm going to introduce you to our two panelists for the day. Alicia Jane is from Faye Bella Activewear label. Plus there's so much more to Alicia, and I can't wait for you to meet Alicia. Alicia, are you there?
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy to have you here.
Whereabouts are you dialing in from, Alicia?
So I'm based in Brisbane at the moment.
Okay, and what's your country?
Well, on my dad's side, it's a Grang people from where the rainforest meets the sea. And on my mother's side, we are Withathi clan and Daybao clan, Daybao from the Torres Strait Islands. So I'm both Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait to hear all about your business adventures, of which there are many. So I can't wait to get into that. But let's meet our other panelists as well. Leandra Gaikamangu. Leandra, are you out there?
Yes. Hello. Lovely to be here virtually and meet you guys. I'm really excited to be on the panel with Alicia. I've seen your brand around, so it's cool to be up here in, I don't know, no man's land in yeah. talking.
Now, Leandra, you have your own swimwear label. Can you describe where you are at the moment?
Yeah, so I run my swimwear label, Leandra Swim, I've recently moved back home, so I'm a younger woman, and my family are from Northeast Arnhem Land, so I run Leandra Swim from my little island home, Millingimby, which is just off the coast of Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory.
How big is the island?
Not very big, but there's about 1,200 people here, and I reckon 900 of those people are like my relatives, like close relatives.
Oh, wow.
So it's really it's a great place. I'm a mum of 3, so it's such a great place to be able to come home, be with culture, family. My kids can run around. So yeah, it's good. I love being back home.
Oh, it actually sounds idyllic. Can you just describe like through the eyes of a child, what is it actually like? What happens there just on a normal day?
Yeah, okay. So Monday to Friday, school is supposed to be, happening 8:30 to 2:30, but pretty much, we go out hunting on the mud flats, and yeah, go hunting, fishing, go into the bush. Last weekend, we were, in the bush, just doing some stuff, getting some coils from the termite mounds because it was like crazy midge and mosquito season with the full moon like a week or two ago. And I was like, okay, I need to do something. So yeah, we were in the bush. Every weekend is pretty easygoing, and it's good. It's a good place to be able to unwind because internet isn't always the best. So
wow.
You can easily disconnect.
So all of those activities, a lot of people spend a lot of time in their swimwear, I would imagine, on the island.
Well, it's kind of funny. So, I mean, we're pretty conservative. So it's really funny. I don't actually wear, unless I'm with my, my sisters and my girls, I wouldn't go swimming in my swimwear. Otherwise, I'll probably get into a little bit of trouble from my brothers. But when it's just us girls and we're in a quiet spot, maybe if we've gone across to one of the other islands, there's a beautiful little beach over there. Yes, there's crocodiles, but I don't know, we still swim.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, Leandra, while we're chatting now, Alicia, we'll come back to you in a moment. But do you draw inspiration for your swimwear from the life that you lead on the island, and the cultural things tie back into the designs of your swimwear and that sort of thing? Was that the whole motivation for creating swimwear line?
Yeah, absolutely. So the motivation behind starting a swimwear line was really about merging all the things that I really love personally. I'm from a small little island. The ocean's a really big part of, our life, fishing, hunting, all of those things. But then my mum remarried a surfer. So growing up, when I moved to New South Wales, we surfed a lot. We were at the beach all the time as well there. So, the beach and swimming is just a really big part of who I am. And of course, I wanted to be able to celebrate my Aboriginal culture and merge those two worlds, I guess, together and use fashion to, share stories, which is a really cool thing about, fashion. You can really use it to do that. So drawing inspiration. Drawing inspiration.
Did you see that there was a... Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. So my current collection is called Interwoven, and that is heavily inspired by my experiences here. It's based heavily around the pandanus plant, which is used for weaving, and it's called Interwoven, so it's a bit of a play on words, as well as it highlights the story of weaving and using the pandanus plant, as well as using the pandanus for a metaphor for, it's a really strong and versatile plant. It bears fruit. It can be changed into so many different things, and I think it's a really great metaphor for how versatile and strong women are as well.
It's beautiful. I think as you're describing it, everybody's jumping on your Instagram page, and you probably have a few more followers after today.
Yeah,
I think.
Please do.
Have a look at the designs. But Alicia, if we can go to you now, what's the inspiration for you starting your business?
Yeah, so for Fabella, I actually came from my time at university. I moved down to Gold Coast, which was a big city for me growing up, to go to university to study law initially, to become Indigenous lawyer and try and enact some change that way. But halfway through, because I was one of the Indigenous scholarship students, I was asked to take visitors to the university through the Indigenous private collection of artworks that are at the university. And there are huge amounts of artworks, so probably 200, 300 artworks easily. A lot from artists in the Northern Territory, particularly the Utopian women. So I had to learn about all of the artworks and the stories behind the artists and the translation of the symbolism that lives in that artwork. And learning all of that, I realized how significant our people's artworks really were, in the sense that a lot of stories and history are passed down through the artworks. It's actually one of the only physical written forms our artwork exists in, since we weren't a people, to write the stories down in English on paper. So, and I thought if more people could read the artworks and actually understand what they were about and understand the story, I thought they would appreciate the artworks more, and as a consequence, appreciate our culture and our people more. And I wanted to share that essentially. And first I thought a lot of the contemporary Aboriginal artworks, which is just stunning, would look so good on dresses and that sort of thing. But then I had a friend steer me in the direction of activewear, because activewear is a huge booming market, not just for all the gym goers out there, but, you know, your Sunday brunches with your friends. And it's when you're working at home, it's usually what you lounge around in is sweatpants, right? And leggings. So I thought they were a good match as well. And particularly because a lot of activewear brands tend to have very similar offerings, like blacks and grays and whites. And even when they do incorporate designs, there's not much to them. So I thought that would be a perfect way to, like liven up some activewear and show those stories. So I would incorporate designs from artists onto the activewear. And then when someone buys a design, give them the picture of the artwork that design came from and the actual translation of that artwork. Because we don't sort of take the artwork and just slap it on the pants. It doesn't always look good that way. I actually employ designers to incorporate that into a contemporary design so that it has mass market appeal. So that's sort of how I came up with the idea for Fabella.
Wow. Well, first of all, you've got the attention of everybody around the country that's dialing in, both Alicia and Leandra, because I'm sure we're all in our activewear right now, and some people are probably some of us are probably in our pools, in our swimwear. So we're right. We are on board for this chat every single step of the way. Alicia, by incorporating the art into your clothing line, that then opened a whole nother avenue for your business as well, to protect the interests of the artists.
Yeah. So that sort of came about because I am not an artist. I was never taught to paint. I never got into that. So for me, it became really important about trying to reach out to artists all around Australia, incorporate their artworks and share their different styles, because a lot of them, just because of the experience that they've had and their ancestors have had on the particular land they're on, they have completely different stories and styles to share. And I really wanted to encapsulate a lot of that. So I've always made an effort to try and get artists from different clans from all over Australia, both Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, particularly because I am of both heritage types. And so for that sort of thing, I just reached out to artists, said, hey, I'm doing this, are you interested? And it also came about, increasing their incomes as artists as well, which has a positive economic benefit for their families and consequently their communities. My sort of mission is all about the ripple effects of what I'm doing and trying to increase the understanding and appreciation of non-Indigenous people as well. And the protection aspect came about because the more artists I spoke to, the more I realized there is the glaring problem of a lot of their artworks get stolen from foreign companies, particularly because they upload their artworks to the internet, whether on their Facebook or Instagram page, not realizing that someone can easily go click save image and then suddenly take their artwork and they don't receive any sort of payment for that. So the protection aspect came about. And I decided to create a second business because of that, because I had a lot of businesses coming to me as I gained more press for Fabella saying, hey, where did you get the artwork from? We find it hard to meet Indigenous artists. And I realized there was a problem there in the sense they didn't know how to market themselves, particularly create websites and market themselves, but also it's a lot of work. Besides creating artworks, you suddenly have to, you're a business as well. So that's sort of why I created my second business, which is called YumiLaw, yumilaw.com. And it's a platform where I basically incorporate artworks into other businesses' products. And I help them do that so that the artist can also increase their income more that way, considering they can have 10 non-exclusive licenses for the same artwork. It just can turn their art practice into something very lucrative in a sense where they can sell multiple licenses. So that's sort of what I did in that aspect.
Fantastic. But you've carved out a real niche. I mean, there's intellectual property and protecting, traditional knowledge and that sort of thing is becoming huge, especially, in 2020 where, truth telling is really important. People are seeking out the truth. And actually, just before I go back to Leandra, you were telling me something really interesting about dots in paintings.
The dot story painting, well, the paintings behind the dot stories, that actually inspired me to start the brand and share the stories, because there's a lot of things non-Indigenous and Indigenous people alike don't know about artworks, Indigenous artworks. And my favorite story to share is the story behind dot painting. And that actually came about because as Indigenous people started selling their paintings to non-Indigenous people to get income for food and that sort of thing, they would paint what they knew as Indigenous people. And for a lot of us, that's the land, how to find food and water, the best place, like how to survive. So they would paint these huge maps of like leading them to things and then sell that to Westerners. And a lot of the elders of the communities were like, what are you doing? Giving these people this knowledge, they're trying to kill us. Like hide it, don't show them that. And that's actually why they started dot painting, because they would dot paint over those maps and things to confuse the like Western eye, basically. And that's how dot painting started. It's now since evolved into its own particular type of art form, but that's where it came from. And that's what a lot of people are interested and fascinated about when they learn, where dot painting comes from, because it's not just a bunch of dots, it has some real significance behind it, which is really cool.
Wow, I really loved that lesson, actually, and I loved hearing your passion as you're telling the stories. In fact, I loved your passion about all of the things that you're doing. You've found your calling in life, and Leandra, as have you. Was there ever any challenges, Leandra, in getting to the point where you are today with your swimwear line?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm 100% self-funded. So I've never, that has challenges in and of itself. I sort of, you write a business plan and you write all these things down and you kind of prepare, but nothing really prepares you for the business journey until you're kind of right in the thick of it. And yeah, absolutely. I had lots of lessons to learn around, finances. I'm a high school teacher by, trade. So I'm 100% self-taught. I had to learn, just how to design. I do all my own artwork. And so I had to, really learn fabrics and research what kind of fabrics work best. I've done a lot of, research into different colors. At the end of the day, the female body is my canvas because that's where my pieces are hanging. So I really take a lot of time in considering, what colors are going to work best on different shades. And yeah, so it's been a long journey and there's been many challenges. I think one of the biggest ones was just making sure or learning how to be confident and saying no. So I got to a point where I was like saying yes to all these things, or a few things that, in hindsight, I wasn't ready for. It was taking probably advantage of me. I spent money in places I shouldn't have. And yeah, but it's a learning journey. I'd never run a business before. So a lot of sort of those mistakes, I guess I learned in the first 12 months, particularly, have really just
Did you have a mentor?
Not for that first 12 months. I mean, kind of, but I didn't really look. So I think I'm really lucky in the sense that, my mom had run a successful business. So I had sort of seen a little bit, but I didn't know what sort of the hard work goes into running a business really. And I don't think you really appreciate it as much when you're sort of watching, especially as a child, as when you're in the thick of it. So yeah, and I did have my parents there to ask questions, but at the same time, I'm a little bit stubborn. So it was a little bit, mum and I butt heads a little bit. So she would say something and I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that. So, that was a lesson in and of itself. So yeah, it was all a learning journey.
I've just got one question coming in. How did you gain the confidence to take the plunge and start your own business, especially if you're self-funded and, you didn't have anyone to answer to? Like, is that good?
No.
To have the confidence to start it in the first place?
Yeah, look, I was a little bit shy about it. And to go back, like in terms of a mentor, I really sort of said to myself, if I want this to work, I need to be able to surround myself with people that are going to be able to help, and just help in terms of advice. So I spent really a good 12, probably the first 2 years. So I'm 3 years in now. I spent the first 2 years of running a business really building a network. And it was really from that network that I understood, and I learned. And It was, you know, just meeting different people that I was able to have conversations with that just helped me to refine my practices, refine my vision, and yeah, really grow the confidence. And look, to be honest, my partner's been a really big push for me. When I was feeling nervous about things, he was always sort of in my corner from the very beginning, saying, cool, okay, how are we going to make this happen? Okay, like, what are you doing? Like, you haven't, you know, done anything. You need to, why haven't you done, you know, you haven't posted for a little while. You haven't done X, Y, Z. Like, he's really been a big help for me, I think, particularly in those early stages where you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, so go back to those early stages, because there would have been a time, well, or was there a time when you started to doubt or think, you know, it's not happening fast enough? You know, is there a time where you don't make any money at all and yet you're financing it yourself? And does the worry set in?
Yeah, look, I'm kind of like a glass half full kind of person. So I was always kind of like, if I want it to be if I want it to be lasting, I need to make sure that I'm setting a really strong foundation. So I was always of the mindset that I need to make sure that I understand what it is to run a business. The creative side is the fun part for me. But it's only a really small part of what I do. You know, it's running the website, it's understanding the analytics, it's all that back end stuff, inventory, it's all that stuff that really is what I do. And so I needed to make sure that if I wanted to be here for the long term, I needed to understand that. So I really spent a good 12 months really growing those skills and really making sure I surrounded myself with people that would be able to help me, you know, gain that knowledge or at least point me in the right direction. And that's what.
And you're doing
I
that
think,
while
like,
you were teaching.
Yeah, no, well, actually, I took some time off. So Leandra Swim really started because I went on maternity leave with my son, who is 3 now. And when I went on maternity leave with him, I decided that I wanted to, look, I love education. I'm a teacher, so I love learning. I love education. But for me, the classroom limited how I wanted to share, particularly about, you know, my culture and my people. So that was sort of where I started, and I thought, I'm going to start a business. And wow. I guess I was a little naive in the beginning, but it was, the hard work's paid off.
Excellent, Leandra. I love the journey that you're talking about, your journey as well. Alicia, we've just had a question come in. How do you balance 2 businesses? And also, if you could kind of weave into, did you have, you know, that same question about, you know, does the worry set in when you put so much of your own time and money and, you know, and your law degree as well? Is there a time when you start to question your journey?
Yeah, I think, like, Leandra's touched on a really important point, which was looking at the glass half full. I'm a very optimistic person. So someone else might have looked at my situation and gone, are you crazy? Like, first of all, you're the first person in your family on both sides to go to university, like to finish university as well. You have no money. It's not like I could go to my family and be like, hey, just 10 grand and I'll get started. I'll pay you back Sunday. So you don't really have any of that, and you don't really have people that you can go and ask, like, hey, how do you set up a business? So that optimism really helps there in the start. And for me, because I started Fabella first, I got the idea 2016 in university, kind of switched tacks and realized I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to make this business work. So I kind of switched tacks there, but I had to finish my degree because mum was all like, you're the first person to finish a degree, finish the damn degree. So I had to do that. I had to turn down a few opportunities for the business because of that, but it was worth it. I was young anyway, so it's like, there's no rush, you know? So I finished the degree, and then I sort of entered into as many pitch competitions as I could for Fabella to try and raise money for it. So the first one I entered was a $5,000 pitch competition that a company ran who came into Bond Uni. I managed to win that to start with. And then I managed to win another pitch competition that the uni held for another $5,000. And that's sort of what I set off to start with. And then I started acquiring, like, manufacturing, paying artists to supply the artworks. And that's sort of how I got started. And then there came a time after university where it was like, okay, I need to either get a job for income or try and raise some money for Fabella. And at that point, I think I had my own glass ceiling in the sense where I had no idea how investing worked. I had all these, but like I entered this huge pitch competition at the end of my university career called Pitch at Palace, which was run by Prince Andrew. And I had so many people coming up to me and saying, hey, how much money do you want? I'll write you a check. I was like, I don't know what this is. So I had my own glass ceiling. I turned down so many investment opportunities, which was silly in hindsight. So I actually got a few jobs and worked part-time to create income while I worked on Fabella. But then I also got the idea for Yumi Law, considering I had those businesses coming to me, and I started basically becoming like the middleman for artists to help them license their artworks because they didn't like going through it alone. And then I thought, this is crazy. I need to build a platform. I need to like dump one of the businesses. It's getting pretty hectic. But then essentially I entered into an accelerator program, which is kind of like a startup course. So I entered that to try and to get some capital for Yumi Law, which I did, which is the licensing platform. And I sort of put Fabella on the back burner. I guess I had to, it was too hard to have both of them. So Fabella sort of stalled. And then I had another person reach out to me and say, actually, I would like to invest in Fabella. And I thought, what the heck, like, let's give it a try. He was really suitable to come on board, considering he's worked, he's got a big position in retail, and that mentorship was also very valuable. That's what I highly advise to people thinking about starting a business is mentorship, because those people are leagues ahead of you. And you'll just be able to avoid mistake after mistake if you get advice from them early on. So I took that on, started running Fabella, still built Yumi Law on the side. And I'm at this point now where I'm about to raise more capital for Yumi Law, considering I have to implement some blockchain technology for the intellectual property part. So I am basically delegating as much as I can. And that's sort of to answer the question about how to do two businesses, is to delegate as much as possible. So the tasks that can be delegated are things like, you know, posting on social media for Fabella, the posting and packaging of the orders, a lot of that sort of stuff, Facebook ads. So for that sort of thing, getting assistants and casual employees are great for that sort of thing. In terms of delegating that sort of stuff, you still kind of have to do the strategy behind like one of the businesses, but then that just frees up more of my time to work on Yumi Law, especially because things are starting to culminate now, and I'm about to pitch for two sort of investments for Fabella and Yumi Law at the same time. So it is hectic and there is a lot of work, but I think just excellent time management, and I cannot stress this enough, but discipline. That's what I learned early on was the missing ingredient, which is particularly hard to build when you're younger. But if you can build discipline now, it just puts you leagues ahead of people. And I think a lot of people naturally have that. Like if you're a parent, you naturally know about discipline and you know how to prioritize. But that is such a worthwhile skill, and it can help you do multiple things at once. So yeah, it takes discipline.
That's amazing. Alicia, my final question to you was going to be about tips, which I think you answered really well there. So I will take that as your advice on starting a business. Leandra, what about your advice on starting a business, or pick up on where you were going to?
I was just going to add to Alicia, and I feel like it also takes like a total lack of sleep. There's times where I mean,
sleep is important. Don't tell them
It's true, but you know, you're up at like 2 a.m. and I'm there thinking, oh, I haven't written back to an email, or all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, that's a really cool concept for something, and then I'll have to like scribble it down. But yeah, it's just, you know, the brain. But
so Leandra, what are your tips? What are your tips for people out there wanting to start a business and take that leap, that giant leap?
Yeah, I would, to add on to what Alicia says, I would definitely, you know, surrounding yourself with people, either where you want to be, so through mentors. So if you know, start to reach out, and particularly, you know, I've found that the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community of business owners, like I'm just blown away by how supportive everybody is. So I went to this big event in Adelaide, right when I hadn't even started my business really. It was like a concept in my head more so than anything. I think I'd bought a domain at that point. And I was kind of really nervous. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to start a swimwear label. And I was quite like nervous about it. And so many people were so supportive, like, that's really cool. Like, yeah, good luck, you know? And I've seen some of those people 3 years down the track now, and they're like, wow, like you did it. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I'm like a completely different person because I've sort of come into my own and I'm a lot more confident. But I really like strongly advocate for going to, you know, if there's, you know, that there's a little, you know, networking event on, and, you know, once a month in your local community, or there's something on like online. I know a lot of stuff's happening now, so it's probably a little bit harder to really build those, you know, personal relationships. But I really strongly advocate for that, because I think that for me was a really big turning point in how I saw myself and how I saw myself as a business person, as well as, you know, juggling. I'm a mum of 3 now. I also work full time still, because unfortunately when you live in a remote community here, housing is an issue. And so in order for me to move back home, I had to get a job. So, you know, because jobs come with a house. So that's sort of like another sort of layer to what I do. As well. So it's been quite hectic, and I would really advocate for, you know, do your research, do your education, you know, take any courses, whether it's free or, you know what, invest in yourself, invest in your education and to learn those skills.
Well, Leandra from Leandra Swimwear, thank you so much for your time today, and Alicia from Faye Bella. We've learnt so much from your journey, and it's been great timing for everybody out there, if they're not aware of your labels, to be aware of them today, because there's going to be lots of Christmas presents for our families and ourselves, I think, coming up as we all search the label and buy some stuff online. So I think you can expect some purchases, but also just thank you for sharing and being so open to share your journey and the challenges, but also the rewards as well, which I think there's going to be so many. You're both absolute superstars. And on that note, I'm going to hand back to Susie, who's got a few more comments to close the session.
Thank you. And just amazing, both of you. I'm just watching a couple of your pages on online, and they're just going off at the moment in terms of purchases. So a big congratulations to you both. I think what you've really highlighted today is that, you know, turning and translating inspiration into really key business ideas and commercializing those is always a tough journey. And I think kudos to you both. You've done an amazing job around that. One of the things I did want to just mention, and you all talked about it, you know, that ripple effect of, you know, how that then impacts sort of others in both your own families and then broader in the community, and really engaging with the artists and being just amazing role models. So a big congrats to you both. I did want to just mention that, you know, you both started out, you know, certainly with an access to capital issue, and as an organisation, Westpac has really identified that from an Indigenous business perspective. And so we recently launched through NAIDOC Week a partnership with First Australians Capital, which is an organisation 100% owned by Indigenous women particularly, who support access to capital and the mentor and wraparound service. So we provide the capital, they provide the mentoring and the wraparound service, which, you know, sort of highlights some of the things that you talked about, you know, HR, legal, accounting, all of those aspects of running a business where you may not have had that, you know, that expertise and advice at your fingertips. So we're super excited about the partnership. It's in its early days. We've launched and had a few come through. We've got a pipeline that's really quite strong. So capital is an issue, wraparound service and building your capacity and having that touch point is as well. So encourage you to look out for a First Australians Capital in terms of, you know, that. But a big congrats to you both. An amazing journey that you've both been on, and really looking forward to seeing more. So well done, and I'm going to hand back to Narelda.
Thank you, Susie. Just one final thing from me. The next webinar is on December 9. It is about goal setting for 2021. You're going to be sent the details and you can register for that. So December 9, keep an eye out for that. Thanks to Ruby Connect and Pep Talk. So thank you so much for your attention today. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy Friday, everyone. Lovely to meet you all.